Hello and welcome to another fun video at MZ Creates. My desk is super messy. I've been playing around with a few techniques that I'm going to be sharing with you in the next few weeks. I have lots of fun junk journaling stuff coming up. I have these book charms and we will be doing some masterboards. So if all of that interests you, do sign up, do subscribe to my channel and click the bell so that you are notified every time a new video is posted. So last week I posted a blog post where I shared with you some printables that I had created. So this is slightly shiny paper. As you can see, it's picking up my light, filming light. So I created these printables, and this is actually a project that I have been playing with for a few months now, and I've come up with a few different ways to create these. So you can go check out my blog post and I'll link it in the description below if you want these printables. But I thought that a video was also necessary because I wanted to show you all the different things that I have experimented with and what has worked for me and what might work for you. I also wanted to show you different finishes so that you could go into this project super prepared. So this is where my journey started with these book charms. So I had put actual pages that I painted gold, and I used cardstock, and then this little book plate that I made for the cover, and it was very much a Jane Austen themed DIY. So, you know, I created all of these different covers, and this will hopefully be part of an upcoming book that I'm doing on Jane Austen. So just lots of fun projects and mixed media pages that you can do if you are a Jane Austen fan. So this is how the whole thing started. And in the beginning, I actually put these little jewelry findings in the pages. As you can see, this one I haven't attached yet, but I just slipped it in with a little bit of glue for this because this one doesn't come off, right? So all you do is you put a little bit of glue and then you slip it within the pages. And I had created these books. I had not put any sort of varnish or anything on them. But the really fun thing is this is a great way to use up your scraps of paper, especially the foiled ones, because they make really beautiful books. Then I also tried putting some, let me see, I think I have it on my desk. Here it is. Dimensional Magic Mod Podge on top, and it gave it this like cream look, but I was getting some, you know, bubbles, etc. And I prefer the matte look over the slightly glossy look, but again, that's totally up to you. And this was done again with the same technique where I used pages and I painted the edges gold. Next up, what I did was I created these little composition notebooks. And again, I created them using some foam board, which is basically this kind of poster board, and I put book tape on the sides. And as you can see, I used white, then I went over it with some ink. I've also used this brown tape, and what it was basically just these two poster boards wrapped up in marbled paper that I'd created myself, and then I put a little label on the top to make it look like a composition notebook. And I thought these were super cute, but they are much larger and chunkier than the books that I had made previously. So that's like a side-by-side comparison. So I would say that maybe this would work on like a keychain, but as planner charms or junk journal charms, I prefer this size. I also tried a smaller size, and over here what I did was I actually printed like old book covers, and that is how these ones were created. But I am not loving this size too much. I think they are too small, they don't stand out, and again, I much prefer this slightly larger size. And so you might be asking, what is that size? So let me go in and measure these for you. So I'm going to be doing these in centimeters. So this is about 2 centimeters by 3 centimeters. And that is roughly, I mean, this is a little less than an inch and this is a little over an inch. But these ones are a little over an inch like this. So they're 3 centimeters by 4 centimeters. And I think that makes all the difference. But the composition notebooks that I did, they are 4 centimeters by 5. And those I think are a little too big and too chunky to be used as planner charms. So these are all 3 of the ones that I have tried. Since then, I've also enlarged, created like an enlarged version of this. And let me see, where did I put that? Yeah, here it is. So this is the slightly bigger version, and it's very close to my Persuasion Mansfield Park Jane Austen collection, and I really like this. So I have given you, and I thought this video would be a good time for me to, you know, do a few things on camera so that I could show you a couple of ways in which you can do this. This is super simple. You just take 2 pieces and you hinge them with this book tape. But in here I used paper that I had created myself. And if you want to create these to sell, I think that is the best thing to do, like marble your own paper, or you know, use pattern paper that looks like marbled paper. I'm also using a lot of labels and paper that I think will look nice as book covers. So, you know, perfume boxes or candle packaging, all of that can be used. Even, you know, wallpaper. You can even cover your books with wallpaper, but I would suggest you go with like a smaller design so that you can actually see it on your book. So this is just a scrap of scrapbook paper. Something like this would look very pretty. As you can see over here, what I've done is I've basically taken the foam board and I have covered the sides with washi tape and then used some scrapbook paper to create a little book. And this is the easiest way, in my opinion, to do this. But we are going to do a couple of things in this video. So I'm just going to grab a few things that I need, put this box to the side so we can get started. So like I said, you can go the printable route, and I will link the blog post in the description box below, and you can print these out. You can print them out on matte paper, you can print them out on glossy paper. So that's, I mean, it's totally up to you how you want to do this. I am going to do a couple of things here. One, I'm going to show you how you can use these labels and you know, packaging or scrapbook paper that you already have, and how you can turn that into a book. And then I use one of these printables. Let's do the glossy one. And over here I've actually designed like these little composition notebook covers. So which one do I want to go with? I want to go with this blue one. So you cut it out carefully. And let's go over the measurements in centimeters. So this is 7.5. If you want to leave like a 1/2 centimeter spine, you know that each cover will be 3.5. But I want to leave a 1 centimeter spine. Actually, that would be too much. I think 1/2 centimeter is good. So that we would need a 3.5 by a little less than 5. So 3.5 and a little less than 5. So this is slightly bigger than we need, this piece. And again, these were all scraps, which is why they're all different sizes. So this is a great project if you have lots of scraps. So I'm just going to put this here, and I wanted to do one on camera for you guys. Let's make this a little less than 5, and this is 3.5. This is such a fun project to do, you know, for craft fairs, or, you know, if you're going to any sort of a market. These are fun to make with kids as well. I mean, do all the cutting beforehand and then let them go to town with their favorite book covers. This is also a great way to like keep track of the books that you've read. You can, you know, create little books and put them in a jar, or you can put them in like a DIY bookshelf. Use different tins, etc. for this stuff. So there we go, that's cut. And then what we do is we just go in and we fold this in the center, and then you press it down. I just keep both ends where I want them, and then I create the crease. As you can see over here, please make sure that your printer is not you know, friendly with photo paper, because this HP printer of mine is not, which is why I also did a version on matte paper. So just be careful of that. As you can see, the ink is kind of coming off on my fingers. But I'm trying to make all the mistakes so that you don't. And that's how we learn, right? So I'm going to take the matte one, and for this one I've just, and they're all the same size, so the interior will work just fine. So let's do this one. And there we have it. Here we create our crease for the book, the spine. And all you do is you put some glue and you've got your little book. Just pressing this down to create a nice spine. There you have it. And if you want, I mean, if you feel like, you know, the label should be a little way off here, you can trim this. You can make it a smaller size if you want a smaller size. But I kind of really like this size, so I'm going to stay with this. And let me see where my jewelry findings are. Here they are. And if you want, you can just take a finding like this, put it in, and you have your pendant. Or you can create a charm. You can put it to the side and create a charm. So this is the interior, the foam interior. Now, gosh, I've got some ink from my hand on there. So just make sure your hands are clean when you are doing this. For the foam board, I like to put tape because this gives a very clean edge. And you can put any kind of tape. You can put washi tape, for instance. Let's take a contrasting color. Let's see. What do we have here? We can take a white and gold. And basically we go all around. And just press it in. Burnish it a little bit because you want it to stick to the board. And now when you bring in your glue, and I'm using this art glitter glue. Actually put it inside here. And then just put this inside, and there you have your little book. I like the book a cover hanging over a little bit. I think it looks nice, looks more authentic. And because I've printed these out on cardstock and it's not paper, I don't think it'll get spoiled. If you do print them out on paper, you can always you know, stick them down to some cardstock. I'm also going to show you another way. If you don't have these findings, you can also just use a screw. Let me just bring this close to the camera so you can see, focus. There you go. So something like that, and just put a little glue on this edge and push it in. And there you go. That's another way to do this. Now, the first books that I made and I showed you, I actually did book pages inside. Now, I cut these all individually, created little signatures, and then glued them inside. I'm going to get rid of this because it's getting ink on my fingers. And that took me a little bit of time. So I was thinking about how I can get that same look, because while this looks very nice and finished, it doesn't, you know, it's not the same look. I prefer this. So I've showed you how you can use the printables with the foam board, but I also wanted to show you how you can use the printables with an actual book that you are upcycling. So I have this book and I want to use these pages. So what I'm going to do is, first of all, I'm going to dismantle this book very carefully, because I do want to use the book boards in a future project. So we're just going to go in and get it, the binding, get the thread out. Now, as you can see over here, I have kind of, I think these are about 3 signatures. They are, as you can see over here, 1/2 centimeter, and this is perfect for my project, because here I'm going to cut out another one of these covers and show you. So this is kind of what the book will look like, and it looks super authentic. It looks like a vintage book. If you want to age the book cover, you can also do that with ink. So I'm just marking the book here, and I'm going to take this and create a template for myself all along the spine. Now I can get, because once I cut this from over here, all of these pages will be loose and I can use these for masterboards. But from this one book, I can create, and the 2 or 3 signatures that I took out, I can create about 4 mini books. So that is super fun. I'm just going to start cutting this. And now I've also seen that when you cut these old book pages, don't use a lot of force. Just go over the pages again and again, but with a slightly lighter touch. I feel that way your ruler won't move, your hand won't get tired, and you'll get a nicer cut. So just removing all of the pages that are in the way. Once they've been cut, you can just like move them out. And there we have it. Now this we can cut down, this we can keep for masterboards. So let's finish this as well, and I can show you what it looks like. I think this just makes it look much more authentic. It's much more fun this way because you can actually see the book pages. So again, going over this once and then knocking everything down. You can even, if you have a strong scissor, you can even go in with your scissor because this is a small enough cut. You can go in with a little bit of sandpaper if you want to like smooth out the pages, but look at this. I mean, I just think this is way more fun than the other technique. And now all I do is glue this in. But when I do glue it in, I'm also going to be gluing a few of the pages together, and I'm going to put a little bit of glue on the top here because I don't want to open this. If I do open it, I'm going to get like, it's going to fall apart. I know that. So I'm just going to clean this up because the spine was slightly bent, and because this is a smaller size, you can easily, and especially if you have old book pages, you can easily do this with a scissor. Everything becomes much easier, in my opinion, with a scissor. Craft knives and I have never gotten along. So I'm going to show you what happens when you just use the same gluing technique as you did with the foam board, because basically I've made this video to show you all of the pitfalls, all of the problems, and the different ways in which you can make your book. So I'm just going to trim off a little of the back cover. There you go. Now if I leave it like this, it's open. And yes, it works okay, but because my book pages are old, this is what's going to happen. So let's fix this. And then you want to clamp your book together, and at the very least apply glue to the sides, just at least one side, and then just take a clamp and glue this down. Here, hold it down like this and let it dry. What this will do is it'll give you this lovely papery edge that you can then go in and paint with any sort of gold paint, but it will also keep the book together. And again, if you want to put in the finding or the screw, you can do it on the top. Now I've left these blank in case you wanted to letter in your own book page titles. For instance, if there's a favorite book of yours, you could write the name in pen and it would be there. Now I want to show you, we're going to set this off to dry. Now I'm going to show you how to use these labels. And I just want to make sure I've got the right sheet because a lot of experimentation has been going on. I have changed the sizes of a lot of stuff. So let's take Anne of Green Gables over here. I apologize if I'm a little off camera, but I was just trimming that. And now very carefully, we trim off the book title. And this is exactly how I made my first books, the ones that I am most fond of. And I'm doing this a little quickly, so I'm making a few mistakes, but make sure that you cut these out very carefully, because I know the video is already very long. Okay. So let's take this paper, and again, now this is a piece of packaging that I was about to throw away. So this is actually a very scrap friendly tutorial. So we've created the book form. Now I'm just going to go in and trim this off. The fun thing with like creating your own covers is that you can play with the size a little bit. So if I want like the Anne of Green Gables there, I want a slightly bigger book, I can cut it here. I want a slightly smaller book, I can cut it here. So you have a little more control if you're just using the labels. But I don't measure this at all. So as you can see, this is a little thicker than what I needed because my other books are bigger than this. And again, super simple, just go in and trim this out. I'm going to try and see if I can get the scissor to work. And yep, it does work pretty well on old paper because the paper is already a little weak. It's doesn't take a lot to kind of go through it. And there we have it. You can go over this with a little bit of sandpaper. And I also really like this look of the pages peeking out just a little bit. I think that lends a little bit of charm. But you don't want too much peeking out either. So just going to go in again and cut this out. There we go. This is a super messy project if you're cutting the pages like I am. As you can see, I've created a bit of a mess here, but I think that unless you do not create a mess, it's no fun. So just, you know, mold the cover to the shape that you have cut. Again, put some glue on the front, put some glue on the back, put some in the spine. There we go. And then before we do anything else, let's put the title on. There we go. And now the thing with this is that these are not copyright like these book covers. So if you want to sell them at craft fairs, the other ones that I've created for you, the composition notebooks are fine, but where I've used like the book covers, those are for personal use only, so you can't really sell those. But this you definitely can. And you can also sell like a blank set of books, like this one here, and people can, you know, use their own writing to fill in the book name, or you could do it live at your fair as a sort of interactive activity where they can choose the book cover they like and then you can letter it. So as you can see, this is already holding up well, but I'm just going to take this and clamp it. And over here, as you can see, I did it with all three sides. This one, as you can see, is already quite dry. And let's see, what do I want to write here? I should have thought of this before the video. Let's see. Quickly. I'll just write Once Upon a Time. You can do this in gold if you would like. You can use different kinds of hand lettering. But there you go. If you want to put like a personal touch. You can also put a few embellishments if you would like to put a few stars, or you know, little stickers, dimensional stickers. You can do that. I think it would be super fun. And there you have it. Here are all the books and the different ways in which you can make them. And I hope you have fun with this printable and you had fun watching this project. I just have seen so many people create these as miniatures. I also wanted to show you that, you know, you can create these as little gifts for people who love books. You know, create pendants. You can also create custom books. You can also make these to sell at craft fairs. And I wanted to share the different ways in which I fill up these books, real paper and foam board, big ones, little ones. So here are all my variations. And if you make any, please do post them on social media and tag at MZ Creates. I would love to see what you've made. I will see you next time. Bye-bye.